Hey everyone, and a big hello to all my fellow CA Inter students. Today, we're going to tackle a chapter that is, without a doubt, a cornerstone of your costing paper, the cost sheet. And look, my only goal here is to make sure that by the end of this, you feel totally confident and ready to nail any question on it in your exams.
All right, let's jump right in with a classic ICAI curveball. Picture this. You're in the exam, you see interest and finance charges in the question. What do? Where does it go? It sounds simple, right? But trust me, putting it in the wrong place is an easy way to lose 5 marks just like that. But don't worry, by the time we're done here, you'll know exactly how to handle this and so much more. So, you might be thinking, why do we even need this cost sheet? Well, let's get practical. Imagine you're a cost accountant. Your director walks up to you and says, look, forget all the accounting jargon. Just tell me, what's the real cost to make and sell one single unit of our product? They don't want textbook theory, they want a number. And the cost sheet? That is the exact tool we use to give them that number. It basically tells the entire story of a product's cost, right from the raw material all the way to the customer's hands.
Okay, so let's start building this thing from the ground up. Every building needs a solid foundation, right? Well, in a cost sheet, that foundation, that absolute bedrock, is something called prime cost. Just think of it as the core direct costs of making something. It's all the costs you can literally point to and say, yep, that cost went directly into making this one unit.
And the very first piece of that prime cost is, you guessed it, direct material cost. This one's pretty straightforward. It's the cost of the actual stuff that becomes the product. You know, the wood for a chair, the flour for a cake, the cotton for a t-shirt. The key here is that it has to be directly and easily traceable to that final product. No guesswork involved.
Okay, now here's where ICA loves to play games, so listen up. Calculating this isn't always as simple as opening stock plus purchases minus closing stock. No. You've got to remember to add in those extra costs, like the freight to get the material to your factory, that's freight inwards, and any taxes you paid that you can't get credit for. And just as important, you have to subtract things like trade discounts. Seriously, these little adjustments are exactly where students drop marks, so be super careful with this calculation. All right, next piece of our prime cost puzzle, direct labor cost. Simple enough, this is what you pay the people who are actually physically making the product. We're talking about the folks on the assembly line, the machine operators, anyone whose hands are directly involved in turning raw materials into a finished product. And just like with materials, ICAI will try to trick you here. It's not just about the basic salary. Direct labor cost is the whole package. It includes all their allowances, any overtime they've worked, and, this is a big one, the employer's contribution to things like their Provident Fund or ESI. You have to remember that all these benefits are part of the cost of having that worker make that product. And that brings us to the third and final component of prime costs, direct expenses. This is basically the catch-all category. Think of it like this. If there's an expense you can trace directly to a product, but it's not a material and it's not labor, well, it probably belongs right here. So what kind of things are we talking about? Well, imagine you have to pay a royalty for every unit you produce. That's a direct expense. Or maybe you had to hire some special equipment just for this one specific job. That's a direct expense too. The cost of a special design or a mold for a product also fits here. Honestly, these can be a bit tricky to spot in a question, so it's a good idea to keep these examples in your head. So there you have it. Add up your direct material, your direct labor, and your direct expenses, and boom, you've got your prime cost. The foundation is set. Okay, our foundation is solid. We have our prime cost. Now, let's start building on top of it. The next major step is to add in all the costs related to the factory itself. This is how we're going to get from prime cost to what's known as the cost of production.
So let's break this down step by step. We start with that prime cost we just calculated. Then, we add what we call works or factory overheads. Think of this as all the indirect costs of running the factory, like the factory rent or the supervisor's salary. That gives us our gross works cost. Now here's a really important adjustment for work in process, or WIP. We add the value of any unfinished goods from the start of the period and subtract the value of unfinished goods at the end. Why? Because we only want the cost of what we actually completed in the factory this period. That gives us our factory cost. From there, we tack on a few more specific production-related costs, like quality control, any R&D related to the process, and then we get to subtract any money we made from selling scrap. That's a good thing. Finally, we add the cost of primary packing. And once you've done all that, you've arrived at your cost of production.
Okay, stop and pay close attention here, because this is a massive ICI trap and you need to know the difference. We're talking about primary versus secondary packing.
Primary packing is the stuff that's essential to hold the product. Think about a tube of toothpaste. You can't sell the paste without the tube, right? That's primary packing, and it's part of your cost of production. Now, secondary packing is the extra stuff, like the little cardboard box that the toothpaste tube goes into. That's for transportation, marketing, or storage. That is not part of the cost of production. It's a distribution overhead, which we'll see later. Getting this wrong is an easy way to lose marks, so please lock this distinction in your mind. Awesome. So now we know exactly what it costs us to manufacture our products. But our work isn't done. The product is just sitting in the warehouse. We haven't sold it yet. So the final step is to figure out the total cost to not just make it, but to actually get it into the customer's hands.
Okay, let's finish this. We take our cost of production that we just worked out. Now, another huge exam adjustment. We have to account for our finished goods inventory. We add the value of any finished goods we had at the start and subtract what's left at the end. This gives us the cost of goods sold, or COGS, and it's so important you get this. Cost of production is the cost of everything we made. COGS is the cost of only the stuff we sold. Big difference. To that COGS figure, we add the last few pieces: our general administrative costs, our selling costs, and our distribution costs. And there it is, the final number, the cost of sales.
So we've got the whole structure down, but now let's talk about the really important stuff, the little details that ICAI loves to throw in to see who's really paying attention. Honestly, getting these next few items right is what separates a pass from a great score. These can be rank-deciding items.
Trop number 1, abnormal costs. Let's say the question mentions something totally out of the ordinary, like a flood, a fire, or a lockdown that shut down the factory. The rule is dead simple. You exclude these costs. They are not part of your normal operational cost of making a product, so they have no place in the cost sheet, period.
Okay, trap number 2. What about a subsidy or a grant from the government? This is important. You do not treat it as other income. Instead, you have to deduct it from the specific cost it's related to. So if you got a grant to help buy raw materials, you subtract that amount directly from your direct material cost. It makes that particular expense cheaper.
Trap number 3 is an easy one to remember: penalties and fines. Did you have to pay a fine for breaking a rule? Or demurrage charges for a delay? Simple. Exclude them. These are financial penalties, not production costs. They don't belong in the cost sheet at all. And here we are, full circle, back to the big question I asked at the very beginning. Interest and finance costs. Where do they go? The final answer is you exclude them from the cost of production. These are purely financial items. They have nothing to do with the operational cost of making the product. Now, you do show them, but right at the very end of the statement, after you've calculated your total operational cost. It's a financing cost, not a production cost, and that distinction is absolutely critical.
Woo! Okay, we've built the cost sheet from scratch and we've dodged all the major ICAI traps. That was a lot, I know. So let's do a super quick-fire revision right now to make sure the most important points are stuck in your brain for exam day.
So after all that, why should you care? What's the big deal about a cost sheet? Well, it's how a company figures out its cost per unit. And you need that to set a selling price, right? Or to submit a tender for a new project. It helps managers control costs by comparing them over time. So yeah, it's not just some random format for the exam. It's a super powerful tool in the real world.
All right, quick recap. Cost of goods sold, or COGS. What is it? In simple terms, it's the production cost of only the units you actually sold this period. You find it by taking your total cost of production and then adjusting it for your opening and closing stock of finished goods.
And finally, the cost of sales. This is the big one, the grand total. It's your COGS plus all those other business costs. Your general admin, your marketing, your distribution. This is the ultimate cost. This is the number that answers that director's question from the very beginning. What's the true cost to make and sell one unit?
Okay, time for a final pop quiz to see if you were listening. Which one of these is not part of prime cost? Is it A, packing cost, B, transportation to bring materials to the factory, C, GST paid on raw materials for which you can't get credit, or D, overtime premium paid to workers? Think about it for a second. The answer is A, packing cost. Why? Because transportation for materials is part of material cost. Non-credible GST is part of material cost. Overtime is part of labor cost. But packing cost? Remember, that comes way later in the cost sheet. It is never, ever a prime cost. If you got that right, you're in great shape. Keep practicing this format and you're going to do great. All the very best.